Let's now begin with our top story. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman says he prefers a political solution over a military action to resolve tensions with Iran. In an interview, Salman warned oil prices could spike unimaginably high if the world does not come together to deter Tehran. The Crown Prince said the attack on Riyadh's oil facilities was an act of war by Iran. He said lack of a strong and firm action against Iran will lead to further escalation that will threaten world interests. Salman also denied that he ordered the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi by Saudi operatives. The Crown Prince called the incident heinous.
If the world does not take a strong and firm action to deter Iran, we will see further escalations that will threaten world interests. Oil supplies will be disrupted, and oil prices will jump to unimaginably high numbers that we haven't seen in our lifetimes.
Meanwhile, Iran has announced support for a ceasefire proposed by Yemen's Houthis. Houthis offer to stop drone and missile attacks into Saudi Arabia in return for a full end to the Saudi bombardment. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman Abbas Mousavi says the move will lead to regional stability and security. Mousavi said Tehran encourages the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen to accept this offer. He said Iran also supports any move to establish a ceasefire and end the war against the Yemeni nation. Mousavi said Iran believes this proposal is an important step to create peace and stability in the region. In other news now, Indian forces have killed a child and a woman in unprovoked firing in the Nikyal and Rakhchikri sectors along the line of control. The Pakistani army says 3 others, including 2 women, were wounded in the firing. The army says it effectively responded to the Indian aggression. Meanwhile, over 20 protests have been held in Indian-occupied Kashmir against New Delhi's illegal annexation and lockdown since Friday. Protesters say Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan's UNGA speech boosted the spirit of Kashmiris to oppose Indian oppression. Officials say protests have picked up over the past 3 days. Because of the increasing demonstrations, Indian troops have further intensified restrictions in the valley. Meanwhile, hundreds of British protesters took to the streets of Manchester, condemning India's inhumane lockdown of occupied Kashmir. The Freedom March began at All Saints Park and ended at the Manchester Arena, with people raising anti-Modi slogans. New Delhi's curfew and communications blackout in Indian-occupied Kashmir has now entered its 57th consecutive day. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has visited Azad Kashmir's southern Mirpur district to express solidarity with earthquake victims. During the visit, PM Khan said he can feel the pain of the people affected by the earthquake. During his visit, Khan was briefed on casualties as well as rescue, relief and rehabilitation measures taken by AJK officials. A 5.8 magnitude quake hit the lakeside city and its adjoining areas last Tuesday, killing 40 people and injuring over 800 others. Earlier on Friday, the Prime Minister announced 500,000 rupees in compensation for each person killed in the quake. Turkey has begun building anti-submarine warships for Pakistan. President Tayyip Erdogan attended the inauguration ceremony of the project in Istanbul. Pakistan Navy's Chief Admiral Zafar Mahmood Abbasi also attended the ceremony. Erdogan and Zafar cut the metal plate of the first of the 4 anti-submarine warships. Speaking at the ceremony, Erdogan said there is great potential for defense cooperation in Pak-Turkey relations. Admiral Abbasi, in his speech, described the project as another proof of the brotherhood between Ankara and Islamabad. In July 2018, Pakistan's Navy had signed a contract for the acquisition of 4 Milgem-class ships from Turkey. Meanwhile, Pakistan and German naval chiefs have agreed to enhance bilateral collaboration between the 2 forces. Admiral Zafar Mahmood Abbasi and Vice Admiral Andreas Cross met in Islamabad. Cross appreciated the Pakistan Navy's role in the region's maritime security. The Pakistan Navy presented the Guard of Honor to the German naval chief. In news coming out of Austria, Conservative leader Sebastian Kurz's People's Party has won the snap parliamentary election. Leading with 37% of the vote, Kurz still needs a coalition partner to form a government. This report has more.
Austria's political turmoil, fueled by a video scandal, appears to have ended with the result of Sunday's snap polls. Conservative leader and former chancellor triumphed in the parliamentary election. The corruption scandal appears to have done little damage, as Kurz managed 17% more votes than last elections.
It's a historic day for the People's Party in Austria, and we are so thankful for the support of the people in our country. Now we will try our best to serve the Republic of Austria.
Leader of the runner-up, Social Democratic Party, Randy Wagner, is far from satisfied with the results. Norbert Hofer's scandal-tainted far-right Freedom Party took a beating and won only 16% of the ballots.
It will be very difficult for the election winner to keep his election promises, because Sebastian Kurz will have a difficult time to fulfill his election promises in a coalition with the Greens or the SPO. That will be a challenge.
The Greens also made an unpredicted gains, surging with a notable 14% of vote bank.
The result is magnificent. It's the biggest comeback ever in the history of Austrian politics of recent decades, and the best results the Greens have ever achieved in Austria.
Lacking a majority, former Chancellor Kurz will need to cobble up a coalition in the coming days.
Syrian Kurds have criticized the UN-backed Constitutional Committee, saying they are extremely underrepresented. Kurdish official Mustafa Bali said having a couple of Kurds from North Syria on the committee is not enough. Bali's remarks came in retaliation to UN Ambassador for Syria, Geir Peterson's comments. Peterson had defended the committee, claiming it had plenty of Kurdish representatives. The Constitutional Committee includes 150 members. It has 50 members from the Syrian government and 50 from the opposition. At the UN General Assembly, a ministerial meeting of world leaders has called for an unconditional ceasefire in Libya. In a joint statement, the countries also called for a pullout of heavy weapons from the front lines and an end to the use of air power by all parties. The joint statement was devised by representatives of Europe, the UAE, Russia, the US, the UK, Turkey, and China. The African Union and the Arab League also endorsed the demands at the meeting. The statement called on member states not to intervene in the conflict in Libya or take measures that fuel the crisis. It asked all countries to abide by the Security Council's arms embargo on the country. The communiqué also called for a UN-backed inter-Libyan conference with all regional and international stakeholders. Well, Japan says it is actively engaged in discussions with Russia on the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. In a press conference, Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga said the disarmament is crucial to the region's stability. But he said he cannot share the details of the negotiations between the two countries. He added that denuclearization of the peninsula is a common goal for Tokyo and Moscow. Well, in Hong Kong, metro stations and roads have reopened today after a chaotic weekend. Heavy contingents of police have been deployed after a night of the most violent protests seen by the city so far. Businesses closed on Sunday as police and demonstrators faced off in intense clashes all night. Police fired tear gas, water cannon, and pepper spray to break up protesters in the busy shopping district. Several activists were arrested after they staged demonstrations from Causeway Bay to Admiralty. Protesters say they will hold mass demonstrations across Hong Kong today and tomorrow. The 19 people have been killed in a factory fire in China's eastern Zhejiang province. Officials said 3 others were injured in the blaze in Ninghan County. They said 8 people were also rescued from the fire. Meanwhile, torrential rains and flash floods have killed 127 people in India's northern Uttar Pradesh and the eastern Bihar states. Officials say UP has been hit the hardest with 93 deaths, while 34 people have died in Bihar. They say the river Ganges was flowing above the danger level in Ghazipur and Balia districts of Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh's relief commissioner said a flood warning has been issued in 28 districts. Meanwhile, authorities in Patna, Bhagalpur and Kaimur districts in Bihar are the worst affected. The Disaster Management Authority said 15 districts of Bihar have been put on alert after more rains have been predicted. Turkey, meanwhile, says it has killed 5 terrorists in the southeastern Siirt province. The Interior Ministry says its forces carried out a counter-terrorism operation in Pirvari district. The statement added that operation is underway to root out more terrorists. It said Turkey will continue to destroy the weapon cache and shelters of extremists. In Greece, a fire inside a crowded refugee camp has killed 1 person on the eastern island of Lesbos. The camp is home to about 12,000 people, while its facilities can only accommodate 3,000. Following the fire, clashes erupted between refugees and police on the island. Police said reinforcements were sent to help restore order. Greece is hosting some 70,000, mostly Syrian refugees and migrants who have fled their countries since 2015. In Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, a fire at the Haramain high-speed rail station has injured 5 people in the coastal city of Jeddah. The cause of the fire is yet unknown. The Saudi Civil Defense said it is working to extinguish the fire with air support. The 450-kilometer-long Haramain railway links the 2 holy cities of Mecca and Medina with the city of Jeddah. The railway link was opened in 2018 and cost about $6 billion. Time now for a break. Plenty more news still to come. Stay tuned for that. Viewers, let's once again cross over live now to the French capital, Paris. We're at the Church of Saint Sulpice, where dignitaries and world leaders, as well as VIPs of all forms, have gathered there to pay their respects at this funeral service to the former French president, Jacques Chirac, who passed away last week at the age of 86 on Thursday. He had been lying in state for Sunday especially. Now we have this funeral taking place at the Church of Saint Sulpice. He will later today be laid to rest in a private ceremony at a cemetery there in the French capital. Jacques Chirac served as the Paris mayor, as well as a lawmaker, and served a number of terms as the French prime minister, as well as the French president as well. These, again, are live images coming out from inside the church where his funeral services are currently taking place.
Certitude dans nos doutes et force.
In attendance are a number of world leaders, including the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, as well as the Hungarian Prime Minister, Viktor Orban. We also have in attendance former world leaders, such as Bill Clinton, former President of the United States. The current French president, who we just saw a few moments ago, had pledged to give Jacques Chirac a full state funeral.
Lecture de la première lettre de Saint Paul apôtre à Timothée.
We'll of course keep you up to date as that funeral ceremony continues, and of course regarding Jacques Chirac's legacy. Let's move on with the news for the moment, though. Wealthy countries, including the United States, Germany, and the United Kingdom, spent less on aid for humanitarian crises last year. The 2019 Global Humanitarian Assistance Report says the reduction occurred despite unprecedented need. The report said the U.S., the world's biggest donor of humanitarian aid, cut its spending by 6%. Germany and Britain both spent 11% less than in 2017. Now, that was despite a record $28.3 billion requested by the United Nations. The report found the overall government aid rose slightly as the UAE and Saudi Arabia boosted their spending. It was notably for rebuilding war-hit Yemen. The report said multi-year funding, which helps aid workers on the ground manage the ongoing impact of crises, also grew. China will hold its biggest ever military parade in Beijing tomorrow on the 70th anniversary of the Communist Party rule. The massive parade will celebrate Beijing's achievements, defense innovation, homegrown weaponry, and technology. This report has more.
Streets, subways, and screens across the country have turned red ahead of the October 1st anniversary. Red banners urge people to rally closer to the Communist Party with Xi Jinping at its core. Enormous flower arrangements in Beijing extol the signature promise of China's leader to realize the Chinese dream.
China is getting stronger step by step. As a Chinese person, every year my feeling of pride has grown since I was young until now. So I feel honored to be Chinese.
From movie screens to theater stages, China's entertainment industry will also celebrate the anniversary. The play, Battle of Shanghai, to be displayed in theater, aims to vigorously promote patriotism as the core of the national spirit.
I really admire our heroic martyrs. I really do. They gave their lives for China's. I hope to spread the positive energy and spirit to more people.
The huge celebrations will take place in Tiananmen Square in front of 188 military attaches from 97 countries.
Billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk has unveiled the latest iteration of his space company's newly assembled Starship. This is a speedy development for the SpaceX's quest to launch humans to the moon and Mars. This report now has more on SpaceX's inspiring Starship.
SpaceX is working closely with the residents of Boca Chica village on a 3-year experimental test program for a new spaceship. Speaking at SpaceX rocket development site in Texas, Elon Musk showed animations of Starship. He also predicted that the rocket's first orbital flight could come in next 6 months, followed by missions to space with humans aboard next year.
The critical breakthrough that's needed for us to become a spacefaring civilization is to make space travel like air travel.
This 387 feet tall colossal interplanetary rocket system is the latest addition to SpaceX lineup of reusable launch vehicles.
This thing is going to take off, fly to 65,000 feet, about 20 kilometers, and come back and land in about 1 to 2 months. So that giant thing is really going to be pretty epic to see that thing take off and come back.
Musk's mission to the moon aligns with NASA's goal of sending humans there by 2024 under its Artemis program.
Asian stocks are trading mixed today after reports of China's factory activity in September came in above expectations. Markets opened lower over news of the U.S. administration's possible delisting of Chinese companies from U.S. stock exchanges. Mainland Chinese stocks slipped by the afternoon, with the Shanghai and Shenzhen shedding around 0.5%. The Hang Seng Index rose over 0.5% as shares of Hong Kong exchanges and clearing surged over 2%. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 slipped more than 0.5% as shares of index heavyweight SoftBank Group plunged more than 2%. The pan-European Euro Stoxx 50, Germany's DAX, slipped marginally, but London's FTSE gained over 1% after opening fractionally lower. Time now to find out what the weather is like around the world. And with that, you're all caught up. Thank you for watching this bulletin here at Indus.